What's up, fellow go-givers? JuJuan Buford broadcasting from Detroit metropolitan area. And what I'm going to talk about today is a exchange I had recently with one of my followers on LinkedIn. And it was interesting. I had been posting content about how I was making significant shifts in my business, right? And how I finally decided to say no to a number of projects that, quite frankly, I was passionate about. I was very much not just simply interested in, but I was committed to. And many of you know that, I've never positioned myself as a coach, if you will. It's just not my jam, right? I've always thought of myself as an entrepreneur that builds things, that doesn't mind sharing information, right? I didn't want to be that guy that was just simply being compensated to dispense advice and guidance. It's just, I'm passionate about education. I'm passionate about informing people. I'm passionate about seeing other people level up, right? That's my jam. I always get really excited when I see other people whom I've been able to interact with achieve their best life or achieve a goal or ambition. But once again, at the end of the day, I just can't, I've never been able to see myself just being compensated to run my mouth all day long, right? Yeah, I know personally, if I'm going to be coached by someone or if I'm going to be mentored by someone, I want to be mentored by the tour guide, not the travel agent, right? Somebody who's actually taken the trip, someone who actually um, knows the corners, right? Someone who can speak to me not just from academic or intellectual experience, but also can speak to me from the experience of actually having accomplished and done some things. And that's the position I've always taken. And I found myself in a situation though where I was moving more and more into that coaching direction. I was creating workbooks. I was getting ready to create a course and a class. I was getting ready to create platforms or utilize platforms to create content where I literally would have been doing just that, spending hours and hours coaching individuals. And of course, the biggest challenge is when you're coaching individuals, at least for me, because I'm a doer at heart. Yeah, I'm a nerd. Yes, I'm an intellect. Yes, I love to consume information and read, but I'm the type of person that my superpower, and I believe, is that once I learn about something, I immediately implement. Like I don't spend time expecting the roots, right? If the fruit looks right, if I vetted the fruit, then I'm not gonna spend time expecting the roots. If someone with a bigger stack than mine, somebody with a bigger bank than mine, somebody who has the lifestyle and things that I want, shares information with me, I'm 9 times out of 10, I'm going to begin to implement and incorporate whatever is being shared with me into my business model or to my comings and goings, right? And the things that transpire in my business and personal life. So, and, but once again, you know, when you're coaching people, for me, the biggest frustration would have been giving people information and not seeing them execute. And sometimes people don't execute because they're lazy. Let's be real. Sometimes people don't execute because they're just not ready, right? They're interested, but they're not committed. You know what I mean? Anyone who's in the coaching and consulting or you've done coaching consulting know what I'm talking about. You can have the best class, you can have the best course, you can have the best whatever. And the bottom line is the uber majority of people are not going to matriculate through whatever experience you created for them and take action. And I, for one, like to lock arms with people and take action. I like to actually execute. I like to grab people by the arm or grab people by the hand or lock arms with someone and just say, look, let's go make this happen. Right. That's how I'm hot wired. And I found myself in situations where I can think of a couple clients where not only was I dispensing information, but I soon found myself, as well as a partner I work with, actually going through like almost baby stepping them through the technical assistance required, almost baby stepping them through creating certain documents, baby stepping them through creating certain processes. And I realized right away that it's just not my jam. At least not right now. Now's not the time for that, right? Maybe at some point where I don't feel like climbing the stairs anymore. I doubt it, but at some point where I don't feel like building something anymore, maybe I'll be willing to settle into that. But to do something like that, it needs to be ancillary for me, right? And so that's kind of the direction I've been going for a number of weeks, if not months. My mind has been set on that. Of course, I'm doing this off the cuff because stuff like that is happening. But in any respect, so I know it came as a shock to a lot of people in the ecosystem that I have not been putting out real like coaching content like that, or inviting people to coaching seminars, or inviting people to coaching webinars. Like, I'll still help, but the bottom line is I'm not going to slow down anymore. I'm going to keep sprinting at speed. I'm sprinting at to build things I want to be and build. And I'll reach behind you like a relay race. You can grab my hand and run with me, but I'm not going to slow down, right? I will turn around and throw my hand behind my back so you can grab my hand and we can run together. But I'll pull you up to my speed, right? And that's really the attitude that I've had. And it's just been coming over me. And so one of the questions that have been posed to me repeatedly from entrepreneurs, and once again, particularly someone here on LinkedIn, was like, how did you know it was time to pause? How did you know it was time to stop? Because a lot of people just push through, and I was just pushing through. And the first thing, and I didn't answer this online, but I'm going to answer it now. I left this answer out, I should say, to the question. The first being, I met somebody that does this for a living, right? She has a coaching platform where she has 3 and 4 and 5, 6 people. They all provide various different aspects or elements to her platform, particularly as it relates to operations and business processes, et cetera, right? And I mean, she's built this thing out. She's scaled it, right? And I have templates. I have a pretty good working knowledge, having built multiple businesses. Partners I've worked with, same deal. But I mean, it was obvious to me this person had scaled out to the extent that was beyond where I was at in my process. And I sat back, and as I was listening to this entrepreneur, as I was listening to her, I said to myself, I don't want to do that. I was listening to the nature of the work she was doing. And I was listening to the type of problems they were tackling. And I was listening to the process, like I could see the process that was required to scale to where she had scaled to. And I could see the price that was required to get there. And I said to myself, that's not what I want. I'm not interested in that. It's the same thing with my real estate dealings. I know what's required to scale a real estate practice. I've known too many real estate agents who are far more knowledgeable, many who are far more talented than I am. It's just, I know that the difficulty associated with, like, I know the statistics. I know that only 2 out of 100 individuals who take that time, spend that money to call themselves licensed real estate agents actually even sell a home. Like, I think it's fascinating. A lot of the investors that I know of are more effective and proficient at generating revenues in the real estate industry than actually licensed real estate agents. And it's not because they like licensing, it's because me not going down that rabbit hole. The bottom line is I know the statistics. I know what's really going on. And the bottom line is it's tough to scale in an industry like that. I was the same in the investment advising industry. It is tough to find the right talent pool, the right type of people. People get it, want to be accountable, have skills to pay the bills, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. And I said to myself, that's not the type of business I want to scale. It's not in alignment with my temperament and some other things I'm going to share here in a moment. What I have scaled, I've scaled my direct selling business. I am scaling my online publication, bringing in additional talent for that. There are other things that I am adept at scaling, and those are the things that I want to focus on, right? So literally, yes, dealing for another business, for the first time in my life, or at least for a very, very long time, I can admit I was soundly defeated. I looked at another entrepreneur, I said, nope, I'm not taking that class. That's not me. I'm not doing that, right? But what are some of the other reasons why I made the decision to cut back on some things, right? And more or less not cut back on some things. I don't even see it that way. I see it as I make the decision to focus on things that serves me better, right? And one of the first things that I needed to do and that helped me with this process is I stopped listening to cacophony. I stopped listening to the noise. I stopped listening to the voices, right? I have not been on social media that much over the last month or so. I've not consumed nearly as much social media as I normally do. I haven't really been asking other entrepreneurs about their opinion about what I should do. And I'll be transparent, even when I've had clients ask me to do things, I've been willing to say no and not respond to what they believe or other people believe what I should be doing. Instead, I had a very introspective conversation with myself about at this stage of the game, what type of lifestyle do I want to live? What type of work that I want to be doing? What does time freedom look like for me? How do I want to spend my time? And that was very important to me. I think that's important for anyone to answer, right? Because oftentimes we talk about lifestyle creep, right? We know what that is. You earn 100, start spending 120. You earn 200, spending 220. You earn 500, start. That's why you can be earning 500 or $1 million and feel like you have less cash flow and someone working at McDonald's. I mean, it is what it is, right? But you know what? Entrepreneurs go through something called, I don't know, I need to come up with a better word for a language creep or I said, it's still 5 o'clock in the morning. Anyway, need to come up with something called business creep or work creep or something like that. Because what ends up happening is as we become more successful and then the revenues we generate allows us to start buying our time back. What do we do at that time? We fill in the time because that's how we're hotwired, right? Entrepreneurs are problem solvers. Sometimes we can't help ourselves. And I said to myself, you know what? I got to do something about that, right? I have children. I have a significant other. I have other goals and objectives that just simply don't revolve around the work that I do. And I want to spend more time doing that. I mean, look, at the end of the day, as entrepreneurs, part of the reason why you become a business owner, ideally, is to build an asset that pays you an income, whether you go to work or not. So you can spend time doing the things you feel like you've been purposed to do, things that you enjoy doing, the things that fulfill you, give a life of satisfaction, as opposed to having to trade your time for dollars, right? And so I don't know, maybe as I've advanced, maybe my ambitions have trailed off a little bit. I don't think so. I think I'm just as ambitious as I was before. I'm just as competitive as I was before. I like to win just as much as I always have, but I want to win differently, right? So, that's one of the reasons, and that's part of the process in terms of deciding what I was not going to do, but more importantly, what I was going to spend more of my time doing. Um, I follow my financial independence deposits. This is kind of related, right? This is the other factor that I took into account. When I was looking at the businesses that I was building, and the thing is, look, when you let me, this advice is for the people who it's for. Some people believe in having 4 or 5, 6, 7, 8 verticals. I tend to believe that's foolhardy. Especially when the verticals are striplets as opposed to rivers. Now, if you can build rivers, that's one thing, but it is much more difficult to build 20, 50K businesses than to build $1 million business, right? I'll just leave it like that. So the bottom line is, though, I was building multiple businesses, and when you are effective, when you are smart, when you're willing to pay the price, you can do it, right? These businesses were growing. They were generating revenues, right? I could see the snowflakes turning into snowballs. But you know what? Not all these businesses were going to create financial independence, right? Some of these businesses were going to continually require me to get up day in and day out to make this stuff work. And I said to myself, let me cut out the noise and pay more attention to the signal, right? Let me follow my financial independence deposits. What are the businesses that are literally setting me free? What are the businesses where I'm attracting the talent on a regular basis? What are the businesses that are actually generating revenues, oftentimes independently of me having to physically get up and do something? What are the businesses that are scalable, right? Where I have momentum, where I have flow, right? And I began to follow my dollar. And I said to myself, these are the businesses that give me the biggest bang for my buck. And yeah, I believe in following my passion. I'm gonna get to that. I believe in doing the things that, make your heart flutter. But also, this is business, this is entrepreneurship. I'm not doing this as a hobby. Look, if you are not concerned about the monetary or financial well-being of your business, which is the lifeblood of your business, you can't even make an impact in the way that you want to make an impact if you don't have enough capital flowing through your business to equip yourself with the resources to touch the people and engage who you want to engage. Like, this isn't a hobby for me. So I decided, no, let me look at what are the businesses that are scaling, what are the businesses that are growing, what are the businesses where my skill stack regularly transfers to other people, in a way in which I can really, really begin to build something that operates the organism, right? Um, for most part, independently of myself, where I'm simply the parent and the business is the child. And all they do is provide the guidance, right? Provide the leadership and the direction. So that's the other thing I took into account that I encourage other entrepreneurs and business owners to take into account, right? Follow your dollar, but more importantly, don't just simply follow your dollar, but follow your financial independence, right? What business are you building to easily scale from a team of me to a team of we, where adding the systems and making the investment in the business is really, and sometimes you got to give the business time to cook, right? But a lot of us, we know there are things that we're doing simply to earn income that we know we don't either have the bandwidth or desire to really scale. It's just we're making a buck, right? You gotta be honest about that. Because particularly in today's economy, especially with AI, it's not simply going to be people that's going to be our competition. AI is going to be your competition. You can half-ass your business if you want and think that you're going to thrive. Good luck. Anyway, I also look at my talent stack. I look at my skill stack. I look at my experience stack. I look at my knowledge stacks. And I begin to allow these stacks finally to operate as my board of directors, right? The chairman obviously is my vision, goals, and passion, but I allow my board of directors to really begin to direct me, right? Oftentimes we spend a lot of time doing the things that we want to do as opposed to the things that we need to do and the things that make sense. And I decided I'm not going to do that anymore. I'm going to listen to my board of directors, right? How many times have we seen companies move away from a core competency and end up getting crushed, right? How many times have we seen people deviate from their core competencies, the things that really make them unique, really provide a competitive moat, really put them in a space all their own, one of one? How many times have we seen people do that, spread themselves thin, and then all the pitfalls that transpire afterwards? I was like, I'm not going to be that guy. That is not the example I'm going to set. Like, I'm going to actually uh, dig deeper into these stacks that I've developed over the years. I'm going to spend more of my effort and energy not only cultivating those stacks, but also spend more of that effort and energy marketing and branding myself within those stacks. And so because of that, I decided once again, there's just a couple things I'm going to focus on moving forward. And these other things that I was exerting energy about, my board of directors said no. My board of directors said no. So I'm following my board of directors said. Now, last but not least, the other thing that I did take into account is I did ask what's edifying me and what's giving me energy, right? Feeding my passion, where I feel like I'm living a life of satisfaction, right? Where satis, what is it, a Latino or a Greco-Roman word? Anyway, you have action, you have satis. Satis means enough. Where I'm willing to take enough action, I'm willing to pay the price, but in paying the price, it feels good, right? So those are the things that I took into account when deciding, because when I was doing this other work, yeah, I was enjoying it because I like producing stuff. But I'll be honest, I really wasn't deriving a real sense of satisfaction all the time. I really wasn't. Wasn't happening. Um, it gives me energy to see people win. But I realized that in seeing the people win, I had to feel like I was winning too. And that wasn't always the case, right? I felt like I was not necessarily planting my seeds in the most fertile ground. Maybe it was the clients that I dealt with. Perhaps that was it. But I really get the feeling that that kind of business was shaped. It's like working out, right? You can always look at a boxer's body. You can see the difference between a boxer's body and a swimmer's body. You can see the difference between a power lifter's body and a long distance runner's body. You can see the difference between a sprinter and a long distance runner, right? You can look at their bodies and you can tell, right? The work that you do shapes you. I did not like how some of the work I was doing was shaping, right? There was a certain body I want to have figuratively, right? In terms of my finance, in terms of my faith, in terms of my family, in terms of my health, in terms of just my life holistically. And some of the work I was doing was not shaping me in the way, right, that I want to be shaped in every which way you can think of, right? And I guess that's how, yeah, that's what I'm talking about. I wanted to be able to look in the mirror and feel good about who I was looking at, who and what I was becoming. And I felt like that work wasn't putting me at a space where I looked in the mirror and I really felt my best or felt really great about the person I was looking at. And so for those reasons, that's why I made the shift. That's how I knew it was time to stop on some things and step on the pedal in others, right? As opposed to just simply pushing through because as a stubborn entrepreneur, that's what we tend to do. So this talk serves you, right? I very rarely come online and really go off the cuff like this and give people what's going on really behind my eyeballs. I'm always honest and I'm always authentic, if you will. But I will admit there are pieces of me that I just prefer not to share via social media. Social media, I'm not looking to become an influencer. I'm not looking to become famous. I'm not looking to be out front and be known and all those other things. I want to build things, right? You don't know who the owner of Franklin Planner is. You really don't know. You don't know who the owner of um, a Walmart is. You know the last name Walmart, but you don't know those people. You don't know the owner of Costco. You may recognize his face because he has been out front from time to time, but you really don't know who he is. In many respects, that's what I'm taking aim at. I'll leave celebrity to everyone else. It's all good. I'll speak up when I need to speak up, but I'm not interested in it. And so for that reason, I don't necessarily always share everything that's going on in my life because I'm not trying to be a public figure like that. But what I do enjoy doing is helping other people and equip them with the mindsets, the frameworks, the tools, the expertise to go out there in the world and make a difference, right? So that being said, I celebrate success in advance. Everybody have a fantastic, Friday? Have a fantastic Friday and weekend ahead of you. Goodbye for now.